Hello, investigators, and welcome to Until the End of Time. My name is Veronica, and today I am doing another deep dive video looking at the many faces of Charlie Kane. I've done deep dives for Kamani and Daryl so far, so make sure to check those out if you haven't seen those. Charlie Kane is a neutral investigator in the Scarlet Keys and is the second neutral investigator in the game so far after Lola. I've talked a bit about him before. He was previewed by Mythosbusters very early on in previous season. He might have actually been the first card from the Scarlet Keys that had been previewed. There's a link in the top right if you want to see that old video. I think there's still a lot of that holds up today. So Charlie, he's got a stat line of 1111, and he's also only got 6 health and 6 sanity. So he gets some very powerful abilities to compensate for that weak stat line and relatively frail body. First of all, he gets 3 additional ally slots, just as a constant ability. That's fantastic. He starts the game with 4 ally slots. He can get as many as 6 with 2 copies of Charisma. He can't take Miskatonic Archaeology funding, so as of right now, that's where you're going to cap out, but I think you'll agree with me that 6 ally slots is a fantastic amount. And allies are generally considered the strongest asset type in the game, so that makes Charlie a lot better. And since all those allies have Soak, that also means that it's a lot easier for him to get by with just 6 health and 6 sanity. One thing to be aware of, though, is that if you have the Stubborn Detective at your location, he's going to blank all of your blank all your text box. You're going to lose those ally slots. They are part of your stat block, and they can get blanked. So that would mean you end up with possibly 3 allies disappearing. So be very careful with the Stubborn Detective. You might want to invest in some charismas and not overplay until you've seen the Stubborn Detective and dealt with it. Then his next ability, he has free trigger. During a skill test you're performing, you can exhaust an ally asset you control to get +1 for each matching skill icon, plus an additional 1. I've seen a lot of people miss that little part, but it's very important. You don't just get the icons on the card, you always get an additional +1. So kind of see it as a wild icon on top of everything. So if you're exhausting a guard dog, that's a +1 to an agility test, an intellect test, or a willpower test, or any other weird test, and a +2 to any combat test. Adds up quickly. So don't be afraid to use that even if your card doesn't have the matching icons, because those little +1s really add up, and that 111 stat line really needs some help to get going, but once it does, it gets very strong. It also means that you're going to have to consider any allies that have exhaust abilities, whether or not you want to use them for their icons or their ability. For example, Lola Santiago is a very powerful ally with the ability to exhaust and spend resources to discover a clue at your location without having to take a test. But she also has double intellect icons, so would you rather have a +3 on an intellect test or that special ability? One card in particular that I think is worth kind of looking at real quick is the tabooed version of Dr. Milan Christopher. Now, I don't usually specify taboo cards, but in this case it is a very drastic difference between the original version and the tabooed version, because the tabooed version explicitly makes you exhaust Dr. Milan to gain that resource. That means that Milan gets a lot worse for Charlie, because you're now having to make a choice between getting that resource or getting the intellect boost. If you're playing without the taboo, I think you probably always want Milan in your deck. It is a fantastic ally, and the static boost from allies also really help Charlie's stat line. Finally, he has an Elder Sign effect, +3, and you can ready an ally asset at your location. I think this is a very solid Elder Sign. +3 means that any difficulty 4 or less test you're probably going to pass even if you didn't exhaust any allies, so sometimes you can just pass a test that you had no intention of passing. And readying allies is very strong. It's for you or any of your teammates. Try to make sure that you always have an exhausted ally that you can ready with this. There are a couple of allies that have powerful exhaust abilities that you can trigger whenever, and it is very nice that when this Elder Sign effect triggers, you do actually get to ready somebody. It's not just a wasted effect, because it's a shame. For his signature card, his signature asset is Bonnie Walls, the Loyal Assistant. She's a 3-cost asset with double wild icons, meaning that she exhausts to give you +3 to any test. And she has a reaction ability. After you exhaust her, you can ready another ally asset you control. She has 2 health, 2 sanity, takes up the ally slot, and she has the ally, civic, and assistant traits, which I don't think particularly matter in this case. Bonnie is a fantastic ally, and it's almost always worth making space for her because she basically lets you double up on any kind of exhaust effects, she lets you double up on a lot of icons, and she just gives you a +3 on whatever test you need her the most. It's fantastic. She's such a good ally. She's a great signature. As for his signature weakness, Burden of Leadership is a flaw, it's a treachery. It has a revelation effect. If you control no ally assets, you shuffle Burden of Leadership back into your deck. Otherwise, for each ally asset you control, either exhaust it or deal 1 damage and 1 direct horror. Sorry, 1 direct damage and 1 direct horror. This has a very important word that it is missing, which is the word must. Now, per the rules reference in the FAQs and everything, the word must is actually what defines whether or not you have to make a choice that changes the game state, which creates this very interesting situation. Because this card doesn't have the word must on it, you are allowed to exhaust allies that are already exhausted. That means nothing happens, but that is actually preventing them from getting killed by the damage in the horror. Which is very important because I think otherwise this weakness would be brutal in certain scenarios. I'm thinking of a couple of campaigns where you get allies that you then have to keep alive. This would promptly kill them if you drew that. So keep in mind, you can exhaust allies that are already exhausted with this. It won't change anything, but you don't have to kill them. And that makes this weakness a lot more manageable, I think. Okay, moving on to his deck building. He's very flexible. He's got the 30-card deck size. And then at deck creation, you choose 2 classes out of Guardian, Seeker, Rogue, Mystic, or Survivor. And then your deck building options are ally cards from level 0 to 5, neutral cards 0 to 5, and cards from your chosen classes 0 to 2. And then, of course, Bonnie Walsh, Burden of Leadership, and a random basic weakness. Alright, people. It's time for me to be honest. I can't do this. It's too much. Charlie has 10 different deck building styles that you can do. 10 different combinations of off-class, plus all of those different allies. There is no way that I can do that. I spent days on the Kamani video and on the Daryl video, and they only have 1 possible off-class. Now you're asking me to do 10 different ones? That's completely impossible, okay? That would take me so much time by myself. There is so many different cards to evaluate and so many different decks to build. I can't do that on my own. And that's why I'm not going to do it on my own, and I'm going to take a page out of Charlie's book and get some allies to help me with that. That's right, I have assembled a little bit of a task force to help me make this video. Let me tell you about the many faces of Charlie Kane. So the rest of this video isn't actually a deep dive, and sorry for the deception, but it is actually the announcement and the showing off of all the content creators that are helping me show off the many faces of Charlie Kane. Check out Ancient Evils, which is the blog you might also know as DurBK, Ember Autumn, Twitch streamer, Bradley Galbraith, also known as Pax Sicilia in the Discord server, Drawn to the Flame, podcasters, Miskatonic University Radio do a podcast, the Mythos Busters, of course, are well known for their podcast as well as their Discord, Obscure Studies, Davi with his very, very good articles, Playing Board Games, a YouTube channel, Tango and Plan, Spanish, I don't know if they're YouTube channel or Twitch channel primarily, I've seen them I think on both, they might be Twitch, and Winging It, who does YouTube videos as well. Now, I want to thank each and every one of these people who have decided to join me for this because as much as I joke about it that I couldn't do all 10, I probably could have tried, but it would have been a sloppy video. But far more, I'm really excited to be heralding and organizing this community event. I'm really excited for you to see all this. I think it's going to be fantastic. Now, I've put links in the description for where you can find the important information. So each one of these people or each one of these content creators gets to make this on their own time, and they're going to post it whenever they are ready. I'm hoping it'll be spread out a little bit over the next couple of weeks. I will be sure to post on Twitter, so if you're not following me on Twitter, check out my Twitter @UntilArkham to see whenever somebody posts something. I'll be sure to post it there. And I have a Google Doc in the description where you can see, we get links to wherever things get posted. Please do not ask these people when they're going to post. It's up to them when they have time. We've scheduled a couple of things, but we haven't fully scheduled it, and it's their choice for when to do it. But I am really, again, really grateful that they're deciding to join me because it's so cool. I still feel a little bit like I'm the new kid on the block, right? I don't feel like I've been doing Arkham content for that long, and the fact that these people are willing to trust me and work with me to make this happen, it's fantastic. So thank you to everyone who's doing this. Thank you to everyone who's watching for being excited about this. I hope you are excited. We're going to get 10 different Charlie decks to talk about. We're going to get so much Charlie content in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited about it. I hope you are as well. Please leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you until the end of time.